Did you know that others can hold a vision of you that you do not yet see for yourself? How do you leverage that greater vision to become the future version of yourself and then pass on those same possibilities to others? How do you use every life event as a stepping stone for your future, even those experiences that could knock you out of the game? Hi, I'm Dr. Karen Wilson Starks, your host for the Voice of Leadership and for Dr. Karen Speaks Leadership. And today's guest shares how she broke the glass ceiling to the top job in her company and continues to create pathways for others. Vera Quinn, CEO and President of Cydcor, a face-to-face sales outsourcing firm, is the first woman to become president at Cydcor. She has taken the company to 300% growth through her business savvy and people-centric leadership. Vera creates compelling opportunities and fosters growth and potential in others. She also creates a positive culture of learning, development, entrepreneurism, hard work, and fun. In addition to paying success forward at Cydcor, Vera also elevates lives in the country of Belize through her nonprofit organization, Liberty Children's Home. Liberty Children's Home provides 53 children with a safe place, daily school, 3 meals a day, and caregivers that care. Vera's global powerhouse success is from a combination of love, wisdom, and leadership. Welcome, Vera, to the Voice of Leadership and to Dr. Karen Speaks Leadership.
Dr. Karen, thanks for having me. What a nice introduction.
Oh, I'm so glad you like it. You are really a person who, how would I say, inspires me at the heart level. So your introduction had to include some aspect of that as well.
Thank you. I appreciate being on the show. Thank you.
Great to have you here. So let's jump in. Some people may not have heard of Cydcor. They may not know what your company is about. So let's start there. Tell us a little bit about what Cydcor does in the marketplace. Who in general are your customers and how do you add value to them?
So, in general, companies hire us. Think about us like a broker. They hire us. We have access to an independent network of sales offices, and we acquire customers or customer information or customer interactions for them. We focus on the telecom, energy, business supply, merchant processing businesses. I think what sets us apart as a company is the way in which we partner with our clients, the way in which we partner with our network, and how we approach customers. We call it our special sauce or wowing.
Well, say maybe a word or two about what that special sauce looks like. What's a little bit different about how you leverage the relationships, how you partner with people?
Our belief is that the customer experience is the most important experience for any brand. How you approach a customer, how you talk to them, how you explain a product or service. We do it in a way that protects a client's brand with the utmost professionalism. The way we teach our people, we tell them, think about it like your parents' or your grandparents' business. How would you talk to a customer if it was your parents' or grandparents' business? Then when we acquire customers, we want to do profitable customers. It's not just good enough to get a yes and execute a sale. We want a customer that's going to stay on our client's platform for a really long time. We want them to be a customer of theirs for as long as possible. And then the third thing, if we're your outsourced sales arm, you need to depend on us if we give you a number, if we tell you we're going to open up a market, if we say we're going to have 200 salespeople on your program. You have to be able to count on us. We have a saying in our business: we underpromise and we overdeliver on everything we do.
So you've been describing the customer as maybe as though it's one, but in a sense, you have at least two customers. Isn't that correct?
We have three. And actually, I would say four, probably. So the
Okay.
first customer we have is the client. This is the brand that engages us and says we would like a sales force to be able to speak to people. So that's one customer. Then we have a customer, and that's our independently owned and operated sales offices. The people who operate those businesses, the entrepreneurs, and all of their sales reps, they're our customers. We act as the back end infrastructure for them. So we need to make sure our customer service there is on point. Obviously, the end customer we talk to at a door or at a business or in a retail setting, they're our customer. And then I would also say that the people who are employed by Cydcor, they're also our customers. They expect, as they interact with Cydcor, a certain experience. They expect us to come through on the commitments that we made for them when they joined our team.
I love that. I love the fact that you're looking at it comprehensively, not just in one dimension. So tell us just briefly, a brief history of Cydcor and how long the company's been in business.
So we just celebrated our 30 years. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Our 30-year anniversary. We started off in Toronto, Canada, and the business moved down to the United States in 2000. It moved down to the United States because we were bringing on a new CEO, Gary Poulsen, and this was his home. And so we moved the majority of the operations down here. And during that time, I also moved from Toronto to California. We've had I just think an incredible story, an incredible business. And, our first client, AT&T, that was our first client. And, almost 20 something, 7 years later, still our client. So yeah, it's been great. It has been a great experience. And, the business has been down here for a really long time. Obviously, we have sales offices in Canada and the US, most of the major, I like to say, NFL cities. So wherever there's a NFL team, you're probably going to find one of these independently owned offices.
Okay, that's fantastic. In the opening, when I was talking about what we are going to be doing today, I mentioned that sometimes other people can have a greater vision for us than we see for ourselves. And in your case, tell us about how an early boss in your Cydcor career painted a picture of possibility for you.
Dr. Karen, when I was in Toronto, I had, my own business at the time, and I was working with Cydcor. And Gary Poulsen, the man I mentioned, he was going to move the business down to the US, to California. While my father was an entrepreneur, I didn't really have access to people like Gary. He was a great businessman. He'd already had a business, sold it. And so now Cydcor was the next thing. I thought, I'm not going to get this kind of experience working side by side with somebody who has this kind of business acumen, who has this kind of integrity. And I came down here on a 3-year work visa. As my visa is expiring, Gary and I are speaking, and he's like, what are you thinking? What are you going to do next? Are you going to renew the visa? Are you going to go back? Now, I'm from Eastern European immigrants. We do not live far away from our families. That's just not normally how we live. I was just in Toronto. I saw my parents, my brother, and my sister who live 1 block away from each other. That's how we organize ourselves. And I said to Gary, oh, I'm going to go back. My whole family's in Toronto, and I'm going to go back. And he asked me, he says, have you ever thought about leading Cydcor? And I said, no, no, the thought actually never once crossed my mind. But when he said it, you know what happens, a seed gets planted. And then I said to myself, who do I need to become? What do I need to learn to be able to run this kind of business? And, I spent the next 17 years almost gathering my skills to put myself in this position.
Now, that's an interesting comment because 17 years can sound like a long time to people. So tell us a little bit about what you experienced in that 17 years, and maybe what were some of the experiences that most prepared you for being the president of the company?
Yeah, there's so many. At first I came in here and I was doing operations. And candidly, I didn't even know what operations was. What is the operations of a business? What makes a business tick? Okay, I had to learn that piece. Finance, if you want to be a great CEO and president, you have to understand how the money works. How do we make money? How do we make more money? What does profit mean? Where do you invest in your business? How do you think about strategy? I didn't have a lot of experience with clients and negotiation. I needed to go pick up those skills and learn them. I took a lot of courses, and I'm in Southern California, so there's some amazing schools here. And I took a lot of courses. And then practically, I had to go put myself in front of a client. How do I talk to a client? How do I ask them what they need from Cydcor? How do I deliver that while asking and getting what we need in order to deliver and have the best outcome for our people? So it was almost like every year there was a plan, whether, okay, operations, finance, technology. How do you deal with a bank, right? How do you do that? Oh, what about people? How do you create culture? How do you develop a team? How do you build a team? How do you attract talent? So, yes, 17 years sounds like a long time, but I think to run a great business, it's going to take you, well, it took me, might not take everybody, but it took me a while to make sure, do I have the skill? Am I practicing the skill? Can I get the outcome that I want? And certain things came easier for me, and certain things I needed to work harder at and put more time in.
Well, I really love the way that you describe the comprehensive skill set that's necessary to be president. You have to understand what the business is about, how it makes money, all those things that you mentioned. And that way, you'll be in a position to add value in a higher way and at a greater level. And it's good that you had a long-term perspective on it, that for what you were going for, 17 years wasn't really very long when you think about it in that way. When you started, you had to move, like you said, from your home that you were raised in Canada, leave your family, and you were also a single mother with a 6 month old, I think he was at the time. So, how did you make all that part work, being a single mother in a foreign country, on your own?
My parents are something else. They really are. I remember saying to them, I think this is the opportunity of a lifetime. And they were like, you can't, what? I said, I don't think without big risk comes big reward. I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen, but I guarantee you, if I put 3 years of my life into this, I'm going to learn things I'll never be able to learn if I was just walking through my life. So that was one. My mother says to me, sounds great. Sounds like you cannot turn this opportunity down. You should do this. Stephen, my son, she said, Stephen will stay here with us. You'll go, and then you can come see him every month. I said, no, that's not what we're doing. Absolutely not. And my father at the time, he was just transitioning his business. He was getting a little older, didn't love laying under cars anymore, right? He said, I'll come with you. I'll come with you. I'll be your support for Stephen, and you can do what it is that you need to do. And not only did he, I don't think my parents do too well without one another. Although it's really funny because they're constantly arguing. Like I said, I just saw them. I was like, it's really funny to me, their relationship. They need to be together, yet, I think after all this time, they have that like little bickering or whatever they do. And my mother said, well, he's not going to go without me. I can't. I'm not. And so both of them came with me. And that's exactly what they did. They helped me. I would not be where I am if it wasn't for my parents and how they invested and how they showed up.
That is really phenomenal that they were willing to build themselves as a support team and support system around you. And you weren't really alone in that sense, which is great because many people don't even think about that kind of a solution as an option and as an alternative. When you're getting ready to do something big, you can take some people with you
Take
in
some
your
people with
personal
you.
life in order to make it happen. So I love that. That is an excellent part of your story. Now, when you think about what you're doing at Cydcor now, how would you say that you use this vision casting approach to benefit people, other people in the company at this point?
We have a really strong compass of who we are. We're an extremely entrepreneurial business. The business is about creating opportunity for people. This isn't a business where we want to, sell in 2 years and make the highest profit. What we say is, we want to be around for generations. This is a business we want to last for a long time for the people in the business. That kind of framework, that foundation is really important. Now, I'd like to tell you that I'm the person that comes up with the vision. That's just not how it works. We have a lot of really smart people at Cydcor, And we have a lot of really smart people in the field in our sales arm. And we come together and we say, okay, what do we want to accomplish in the next 3 to 5 years? Where can we add the most value to our people? And where can we add the most value to the market? What is our unique core differentiators? What are we going to spend our time, money, resources on for the next 3 to 5 years? And that's developed with a group of people. And it's not a group of people that have the same discipline. It's not a group of people that have the same ideas. We come together, we do a strategic planning session. I think many businesses may. The difference is we're revisiting those strategic plans every quarter and we'll amend. Okay, what's the next focus? Are we going down the right path? If we think about the money we're investing, is it the right investment? Do we have the right people on the team to execute some of this new stuff? And we answer those questions and then we tweak the plan. Oh, you know what? We need somebody from the events space. We want to build this events business. Okay, who's in the market? Let's go find somebody that knows how to do this, bring them onto our team, and let's have them help us develop our strategy. So when I think about the foundation of the business needs to be there, and that's always what are we doing for who? And then the how is, okay, what's the strategy to get there? And I think certain times in Cydcor's history, our strategy has been dead on. And certain times we've tried things and, it hasn't worked. And we come back and we say, okay, how do we do this better, differently? Or, hey, we went down this path. This actually isn't the right path. Where do we need to pivot to?
I love the fact that you really are involving the people in the organization in developing the strategy. And in my experience, very often the how-to comes after you've put a stake in the ground and you've decided you want to do something, then you start figuring out how to do it as you go along the way. And to what extent do you see yourself sometimes maybe seeing a person in the company and saying to them, have you ever thought about doing such and such or being such and such in the future? Because maybe they haven't thought about it, just like you had thought about being president when your boss came to you.
Yeah, we do it a lot. We have development plans for people. When you come into Cydcor, we probably give you 30 days to, figure out where you're at, and we teach you about all the departments and just the business in general. And then your manager is responsible for sitting with you and saying, hey, what are your bigger goals? Sometimes people are super clear on what those things are. Sometimes people are super not clear on what those things are, depending on their confidence and really probably their family of origin. Some people think really big because that's the way they were raised. I find a lot of people, they think they can't do as much as they can do. And so then we sit. What are the skills you want to learn? What are the experiences that you want? We're an organization that looks internally before we look externally. We think about talent as if you have the cultural makeup, it's the culture and the traditions of the team that is going to get us to the next 30 years. So if you have that, if you're an ambitious person, you are willing to do the work, right? If you come in entry level at Cydcor and you say, hey, Vera, one day I want to run people services. Awesome. What are you willing to do to hit that goal? How much work are you willing to put in? What are you willing to learn? Are you willing to push yourself out of your comfort zone? And as long as we know people's goals and we know how hard they're willing to work for them, our development plan process should be pushing them. Get out of your comfort zone. What did you learn? You made a commitment to do this class. How are you doing on that class? You made a commitment to go and shadow X, Y, or Z to learn this. How's that going? So we do a lot of promote from within, a lot of promote from within. And the people are doing the work to go get the skill or get the experience. Now, I do want to say this as well. There are certain skills. We don't have the time to ramp you up. We need that brain now. So what we do is we'll recruit for that brain outside of Cydcor, bring them into the business, and then partner them with certain people at Cydcor so that their knowledge, also our people at Cydcor, get access to that knowledge. Like one of the things we're talking about right now, AI. There's nobody sitting in my business that knows everything about AI. It's going to be very important. It is very important. It's going to be more important. We're looking. Hey, who should we be hiring? Who should be consulting with us? Who should be educating us on how we can use these different AI strategies in our core business? So that would be an example where I'm not going to wait until somebody ramps up. I'm going to have to go outside, and that's okay because that person's going to make us a lot smarter.
Oh, yeah. And I think when you do those strategic hires like that, bringing in expertise you don't have already, that becomes yet another learning opportunity for those who are already in the company. So no matter which way you go, people have a chance to grow, develop, and get into new places as a result of your people-centric leadership. And that promoting from within is really inspiring to people because they realize I can do something else. Something else is a possibility. What else would you say is maybe the core of your people-centric leadership? Because you're always looking ahead, helping people look ahead about what they can do. You're promoting from within. And what else are you doing that inspires people to stay there?
I think at the core, if you really think about it, what do we actually get done without people? Nothing. So if you want to be a competitive workplace, if you want to be a competitive culture, the people are the thing that they drive the business. So whether it's all of the people in our independently owned network, what are we doing to develop them? That whole piece of our business, super entrepreneurial, super promote from within. You have to start at entry level in order to run one of these sales offices. The whole basis of the business is how can we recruit amazing people? And then how do we teach them the skills to be amazing entrepreneurs? That whole business only grows through people. So all our systems are set up around how do you get the best out of people? How do you give them the best opportunity? How do you give them the best trainings? How do you give them the best experiences? And then, unfortunately too, how do you push them out of their comforts, the best challenges? Because that's, I think, how we learn the best. But everything we do, I don't make a product, right? I'm not manufacturing anything. My whole business is people.
I think one thing that you said that I think we should just highlight, and that is when people join those independent sales teams, you talked about how they start at entry level. One of the things you provide is the training and skill about how to be successful. So if there's somebody out there who wants to be in sales and they want to learn, they get what I would call a deep level experience on how to make it happen. And that's valuable because not a lot of companies are investing anymore at that level to really teach people what they need to know to be successful on the job. They expect them to kind of get it on their own, to have it when they come. And so that's really a driving factor in recruitment for you as well, I would imagine.
Very much, very much. This is it's all about, first of all, it's individually, right? Can I do what I need to do? Can I perform? Can I get through my own kind of gates? Sales has its rejection, it has its getting out of my comfort zone. Okay, that's my first gate, me. Then I'm responsible for teaching, developing, training other people. I'm a young person. I may or may not have that experience, and the business teaches them how to do that and be responsible for somebody and coach and develop them. And then I'm going to take a step up into assistant management and help run this particular sales office. And now I need to understand the operations of this. And now I need to understand how to recruit or, again, the financials, whatever the thing is. And then I get to go run one of these offices. I've earned the opportunity to partner with a Fortune 100 or 500 client in another city. And now I'm responsible for people and development and coming through for a client. At least in my mind, a really special business.
Right. So when you first started out and you were on this trajectory to learn how to become CEO and president of the company, there had not been another woman in that position before. When you look at the company now, what are the opportunities like for women? How has the trajectory changed for women leaders and for other diverse people?
It's hard for me to answer that question. And I'll tell you why. Gary was always a proponent of, I want great people. I don't care your gender. I don't care your social economic class. I don't care your race. I don't care. I just want great people around me. And if I have great people around me, then we're going to build a great company. One of the things he said to me, which I loved, there are groups of people that are underrepresented in business, but there's a lot of talent in those groups. So if I get really good at coaching and developing women, I'm going to find some amazing women. If I get really good at coaching and developing African American, great, then I'm going to go find some amazing talent. So that I think was a kind of always in the back of my mind. Okay, where is the talent? It doesn't matter. And talent looks very different, acts different. Okay, where is it? Who are the people that really want to work hard? Who are the people that have a ton of ambition? Okay, and then I'm doubling down on them. So I think a piece of it was he was really open, right? And he created a culture where it was very inviting for everybody. Now, if I grew up in a culture that wasn't like that, I'm not sure. But my expectation of myself was you have a debt to pay, and the debt is to become the best version of you. So that was my debt to pay based on my parents moving here, based on, being born in North America. Like that was the debt I have to pay. Okay. And I'm in this spot where they don't care that I'm a woman. It doesn't matter to them if I'm a woman. It doesn't matter what I am. If I'm willing to work hard, if I'm willing to do the right things, if I'm getting the result, then I can move to wherever I want to move. I look around today and I'll tell you an interesting story. I was just in Toronto for a conference and I was leaving the ladies' room and there were 4 or 5 women in there and they said, it is really cool that there's a female CEO. They were younger, 20s, late 20s, early 30s. I never looked at it that way. I just always thought, I want to do the next big thing. But I do think it's important for people to see different kinds of leaders. So when I look on my leadership team, we have a lot of different cultures on my leadership team. We definitely have, I think we're half women, half men. I think a lot of people say to me, like, you did it. I came from in a space that was really open to it.
Yeah, and it's really important for people to see you in that role because then they can imagine that it's possible for them. And often, when you don't have those pictures of people already there or who have been there, people think, well, that's not an option. And so, thankfully, you decided it was an option for you. And now others are looking at you and saying, I could maybe do that one day. So, yeah, it is crucial, important that you're in that place.
And when I look at our field leadership, we have incredibly strong, amazing female leadership, right? So they have those examples of, wow, look at Brandy or look at Julie or look at Rebby, like these Holly. I mean, just incredible women leaders. And again, a lot of us, we came up in the business together. So as we were all succeeding, it's like, yeah, we can do this.
Great. Now, you mentioned earlier that your father was an entrepreneur and that he was working on cars as his business. What did you learn from him as you were growing up and seeing him run his business?
Yeah, again, just saw him this weekend, so I'm smiling, right? He was something else. He didn't speak a word of English. He moved to Canada and he worked with a gentleman who had a car mechanic shop. He was a German man. My father speaks 4 or 5 different languages. So he worked there for a while, tried to learn, just, hey, what is this country? What is this language? I have to learn. But I can, work with my hands and fix a car. So this is a good place for me. I can provide for my then, my mom then and, his future family. He played a lottery ticket, won $10,000 in the lottery, and he started up his own shop. And I remember going to different places in Toronto. There are really ethnic communities. So there's the Serbian community, which, former Yugoslavian, that's what we are. My father speaks the language. He could recruit customers. Hey, want you to come to the shop? I'm an honest guy. If you have any issues with your car, I'm here. I want to build a business for a long time. I'm not going to rip anybody off, because there's that stigma around, got to go get my car fixed. This is going to cost a fortune. So first, hey, how do you approach customers and how do you take care of them? I think that was a big lesson. My father would work on Sundays when people's cars couldn't get fixed. The car's broken down. He'd go to their house. He'd fix their car. Service. Hey, how do I build a business for the long term? I got to serve them. We all worked in my dad's business at some point in time. like all of us. I have two sisters and a brother, and we were all in there either pumping gas or sometimes bringing him tools or repainting, whatever. I mean, we were in that business a lot. So my father, hard work. What does it mean to work hard? We didn't see him 6 days a week. He was gone before we left. He came home at night, normally after dinner. My mother was home with us. Okay, hey, you're going to take care of your family, feed your family, come through as a provider. You got to work hard. And he created this business that had long-term customers. He had employees that he was responsible for. I'd watch my father get excited when those people got old and they got married and had their own kids, and he was a part of their lives. So he taught me a lot. And then also how to be part of the community. He had his shop where it was for a really long time. It was, S&J Auto, Steve and Jovan for my brother, S&J Auto, and people in the neighborhood knew who he was. People would just come by and bring him a coffee. So it was the way he thought about, how do I take care of these people? How do I serve these people? How do I go the extra mile for these people? How hard he worked. I mean, so many lessons. He was a really tough guy.
It sounds like you got a picture of what people-centric look like just from watching him and being willing. I mean, I'm thinking about going to the person's house to fix the car, going on a Sunday. I would love to have a mechanic like that right now. And so that was certainly providing a distinctive that probably most shops really didn't offer. And he could also speak the multiple languages to be able to reach out to the different ethnic communities as well. So there was a lot in there. And with you as children being in the shop, you're learning those values almost just it's rubbing off on you just by being in the ether and being in the environment, if you will.
Oh yeah, and there was no like, we needed to know what the tools were. Bring me the tool, and there was no sauntering around. Like you go get the tool, bring it to him quickly. There was no like. He was like, "Hey, we're working, and when we're here, we're showing up here. People aren't watching you just hang out and read. We are here. We are here to do something." And that hustle, that intensity, I think that was another big thing I learned from him. If you're going to be somewhere, be somewhere.
You've said multiple times that your family, was immigrant family. What else would you say were part of the values that were transferred to you just from the immigrant background that you think also serves you today in how you lead?
Again, drummed into my head from a young age was, you will do better than we did.
Mhm.
It is your responsibility. We came here, we left a communist country, we came here to give you guys a better life. You couldn't not work hard. You couldn't not perform. You couldn't not show up. Lazy. I just look, and across my cousins and my aunts and uncles, I mean, the same. They all did the same. And you're going to live a good life. Like you're going to be a good person. So they were really hardcore, very strict. I learned community and family. I mean, we'd fight amongst the sisters, obviously, we're a year apart, right? So we'd fight amongst each other. And my father would say things like, this is your family. You have to have each other's back. So I learned that from them, and just how you show up for the people that you love or that you call family. My father also had this saying, hey, there's family, blood, but then there's also the people you choose to be part of your family. You show up for them too, whether your friends or your community or the people you make commitments to. But I will tell you, Dr. Karen, I think one of the most important things I learned was probably from my stepmother. My mother passed away when I was 4 years old. And my father got remarried a year later, and my stepmother had a daughter, my older sister, Jackie. My father had myself and my younger sister. How she took me and my younger sister in, how she cared for us, how she treated the three of us the same, how we grew up having the same things. There wasn't favoritism. That to me is probably, now that I have perspective, I've already, I've raised my son. So I don't know that I could have done that. I'm not sure I could have. So for me, that was a huge lesson of what does it mean just to love unconditionally? Because really, I mean, we were her kids, but not her kids. The three of us grew up, for the longest time, I don't think we even realized that we weren't all born together, all sisters, right? It came later on. Oh, this is what happened. My stepmother showed up in a way that I've learned a lot. And even today, when I meet somebody and I'm like, all people want is love, and you have the capability to love everybody. So, if it's a 4-second interaction, try and just throw out some of that love.
Yes, it sounds like, and I'm so glad you mentioned this issue of your mother dying because you were only 4 years old when that happened. And your stepmother, even in this conversation, you've referred to her as your mother. So she did a great job of really treating you truly like a daughter, such that you honor her with the name mother as well. So that says it all in terms of the legacy, I guess, that she's leaving through you and how she showed up in your family. And you're passing that forward as well, because that whole thing of love and what your father said about choosing the people who you want to have around you as family and community, you're doing that in the business also. So you're bringing that same spirit to Cydcor that you had in your own family as well. That's a beautiful story. I love that. Thank you,
Thank you.
for sharing that part of who you are as well. I want to dial back just a little bit to earlier in your career at Cydcor, because you also had to go and knock on some doors as a salesperson. And we learn a lot from being in the trenches, so to speak. So you learned a lot about what to do and what not to do, how to show up, how not to show up by knocking on those doors and having some experiences. So tell us a little bit about that too.
It's interesting. I think now knowing what an introvert and extrovert is, I don't really have a problem talking to people. I think I'm super curious. I like people and I want to know their stories. So the whole interacting with somebody, I don't think that was hard. Now, people saying no to me, that was really hard for me. And I think it's hard for a lot of people. You take it personally. All of these doubts. What if I can't do this? What if I never figure this out? What if nobody will ever buy something from me? What if I am terrible? What if, what if, what if? And I think one of the biggest things I learned was, how do you quiet those voices or change your paradigm? It was a really big lesson for me. I remember, people would say no. And a lot of people more people are going to say no than yes. That's just reality. So how do I deal with that kind of rejection? How am I going to let that person or that no impact my day? And I think that's, again, one of the things that makes the business really special. You got to fight through that. Now, you do find a way to reframe it, which I did too. Every no brings me closer to a yes. That was every no I hear brings me closer to a yes. But a lot of people, they get stuck in that no. They get stuck, they get knocked down, and they can't recover. And I think what the field taught me was, you have a bad day, tomorrow's another day. You control the controllables. And one of the things that you can control 100% every day is your effort and your attitude. I control my attitude and I control my effort. Nobody can take that away from me. And I was like, that's cool. Then we have these 8 great work habits. Be on time, be prepared, work a full day. So I learned in the field how to be great at life. How do I want to, hey, be on time. Don't be late. That's something you can control. It is one of the simplest things to do. When you make a commitment to be somewhere, be there. Oh, I could do that. Well, 30 years later, that's a pretty big habit of mine now. Be prepared. Don't just show up, and we couldn't. You can't just show up for a day when you're going to go in the field and talk to customers without your territory being mapped out. Well, I can't just show up to my day as CEO or mother or spouse or community and not have a plan. Oh, so that was something I learned 30 years ago that helps me today. We have a habit, have and maintain a great attitude. Okay, well, yeah, things are going to happen. You're going to get cut off. Something isn't going to go your way. You're going to get a voicemail you don't like. How do I show up for that? I choose. So the field to me was probably one of the best teachers. And today, when I think about the things that I focus on, those 8 great work habits, I don't know, it's just how I show up. It's just a way for me to live. Now, learning them when I was 20 years old, super helpful.
Yeah, you learned early, which is a wonderful thing. And I love a few things that you said. One, you learned about how to live life, not just how to show up at work. These habits are relevant for just how we live in the world. You also said you learned how to reframe things so that what you could look at negatively, like let's say 20 people say no and it takes 50 to get to yes. I got 30 more to go. I'm closer to it. To be able to reframe that and to say that and to restart the dial. So every day you're starting fresh, you're starting anew. Those are some really important strategies that I think other people who are listening can use in their lives as well. So thank you for saying that and for sharing what those success factors are and what's working for you.
I think one other thing, Dr. Karen, that I learned, I talked to so many people in their homes. I would knock on a door and I would talk to so many people. And one of the things that stood out to me was there were people that I met that I was like, I want this life. And then there were people that I met that I thought, I do not want this life. The field was a great teacher to me. There's the mom at home that has the three kids and two kids hanging off her, and she's got just the nicest, you could tell she's stressed and frazzled. She opens the door. Hi, what can I do for you? And you can tell she's busy. She's got her kids on, there's all this stuff going on. And she has an incredible attitude. She's super kind, doesn't know who I am. And then there were people who were just angry, like, just what do you, I want to be kind to people. I want to be happy in my life. I want to show up in a nice way for people. So that was also a big lesson that the field and just knocking on doors taught me because you're just exposed to so many things.
You see so much when you're in the field and you see what you want more of and you see what you want less of. So I'm really glad that you shared those examples. It goes back to that attitude again, where we have choices. We can choose how we're going to show up in the world. So that's phenomenal. I want to take some time to really talk about your nonprofit, Liberty Children's Home in Belize, and tell us the backstory of how you started working there. And yeah, let's just hear about it.
So Liberty is probably one of the most special places I've ever been to in my life. Almost 10 years ago, two women that I work with and they were sales leaders. There was a trip that the boys went on to somewhere doing something, and they said, "Why don't you take us somewhere?" And at that time, my son was 13. I'm working a lot. I said, "We're not going on vacation. That's not what I'm doing." One of the leaders, Rebbe, said, "Would you be open to volunteering?" For sure, 100%. Then we did have this plan where we were going to go and volunteer for 5 days and then go hit up a resort for 2 days because I felt like I could sell that to my husband really well. But we didn't do any of that. We went to Liberty. We were there for, I think, 7 days, 6 nights, or the opposite, or however that word. And it was unbelievable. Unbelievable. These children are in this home because they've been abandoned or abused, or their families can't or won't or something take care of them. And a few things. One, if you go there and you don't fall in love with all these children, I mean, I guarantee you it will happen. Two, gives you such an appreciation for where you are in your life. And we were there in October, and the kids were, as we were leaving, were crying. We never ended up going to a resort. We stayed there the whole time because the weekend was when they were home from school. So we thought, we're not leaving now. We could be with them for 2 full days and play with them. So that's when we stayed. And they said, "Will you come back?" And the three of us said, "Yes, we will come back." And they said, "Everybody says that." So we booked tickets. We were there in October. We came back in that December for Christmas. And then every year since, except for those COVID years, we've probably gone 3 to 5 times a year. I take people from my business. I take people from, YPO, which is an organization I belong to go and come and help out, whether it's paint or do gardening or do homework with the kids, or, hey, there's a big project we have to do. I just think having that perspective of we're so lucky, or I feel so lucky about the life I have. But these children have so much love. All they want to do is hug you. All they want you to do is pay attention to them. And your reward is, a hug or a kiss or a smile or let's play a game or dancing. Yeah, it's changed my life. It's just changed my life.
I think what's really beautiful in the story is that a lot of times people will go to other countries where there's a great need and they think that the service is really going to be one way. And what you've described is there's mutual benefit. You're there serving, and then the children are also giving back to you. And that's a really beautiful story as well. And tell us a little bit about what the impact was on your son when he went with you as well.
So one of the commitments, I made, I'd been going maybe for 2 years, and I was going to make a decision financially. I want to take over the responsibility for Liberty. I can't make that decision by myself, right? I have a husband and a son, and let's go down. And so we went down. The first time we went, we brought a few of Stephen's friends with him because, and their families were so into it because they're like, oh, this is going to be great. All our kids who grew up in Westlake Village are now going to go to Liberty and serve in some way. And I said to them, I said, I want to make this financial commitment. This is our family's money. This isn't, we have to be okay with this. And we went and it was unbelievable. And as we're leaving, we're in the Belize airport and it has air conditioning and Liberty does not have air conditioning. And Stephen said to me, he said, I'm so thankful for air conditioning. I said, as am I, every time I come to this airport. Mom, I'm so thankful they had these beef patties like these. As am I. And I asked them, what do you think? And he said to me, he said, people can do whatever they want with their money. He said, you're the one working, you're the one doing all this. If this is where you want to spend your time and money, he said, if anybody disagreed with that, me or dad, he said, you'd have to question us, not us question you. So I made the decision. I became the director of Liberty Children's Home. And my husband and Vanessa, who was one of the women that came with me the first time, they set up Mighty Quinn Foundation. So we have drives and donations. We have a lot of people in the field that are invested that donate a lot of money. The money goes to Mighty Quinn Foundation. It's transferred over to Liberty Children's Home. All the money goes to the home, right? So it's all about the kids' needs and then paying the staff. And we have access to both sets of books. So whoever wants to see, hey, this is where the money goes. You're not paying anybody to administer any of this. We all do this for free and in our own time. And we've involved a lot of people. And it's been, it's just been a work of, I don't know, one of the best things I'll ever do.
What a beautiful story. And I think it's beautiful because you've created a whole community, even around this effort of giving to other people, and everyone is volunteering whatever it is that they're choosing to do. That's just phenomenal. I'm really, I'm just so delighted that that's what you're choosing to do to make a difference in other people's lives. Let me ask you too, and now there's a book that you say you read every year. What is that book? Tell us about it.
The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Yep. It is the 24th January that I've read that book.
Wow. Say a little bit more about why that particular book and how has it made a difference for you?
I really believe in the habits. I think the way that the book is set up, it's first you have to, you move from dependence to independence to interdependence. And that's really what life is about. The best life is where we're interdependent on one another for our relationships. Or I'm an independent person, but I'm interdependent with my husband to have a good life, whether I like it or not, right? I'm interdependent with the people that I work with. So just the way the book is set up, it's like first it's a private victory. Can I be victorious over myself? Can I be proactive? Do I believe in the thought that, things happen, I have the freedom to choose my response? That to me is power. Things happen to everybody. You choose how you respond. And that choice is going to equal a proactive life or a reactive life. And so I was like, yeah, I could get behind that. And then, the second habit, begin with the end in mind. Start dreaming and thinking. And what do you want your life to be? And who do you want to be when you grow up? How do you want to be when you grow up? What are your values? How do you want to show up? How are you going to make decisions? It's, really rooted in what's your purpose? Like, what were you put here to do? And I believe, I have a fundamental belief that people have greatness in them, and all people, not just one or two, all people have greatness in them. And it's the choices we make and how we live our life on whether or not that greatness comes out. But it's there for everybody. And then three, okay, kind of logical, put first things first. Okay, what comes first? What comes second? How do I plan this out? How do I get the life I want? Now, if I can do this for myself, I move from being a dependent person to independence. Great. Okay, well, then how do I have to live with others? Think win-win. Seek first to understand, then be understood. Synergy. 1 + 1 could equal 7. The more brains, the better. And then the last one, which I think is important, is sharpen the saw. We are no good to anybody in our life unless we are good to ourselves. So the whole book structurally, how could you not get behind this? Right. So the first time I read it, it's a dense book. It's it's deep. It's not 100-page. You got to read it and think about it. They have all these exercises. How do I figure out my mission statement? What do I want people to say? When I die, like, what is my eulogy going to be? That's hard work. I don't know what I want that to look like. And so every year, what happens, Dr. Heron, is I pick up a different piece of the book. Something stands out to me. I just turned 50. So right now, sharpen the saw is really important to me. Hey, what are you doing for your health? What are you putting in your brain? How are you spiritually feeding yourself? What about your social emotional relationships? How are you investing in the saw, which is you? So this 2024, I'm like, okay, this is the habit that speaks to me the most. Last year, the habit was seek first to understand, then to be understood. It's like, hey, you got to do a lot more listening. A lot more listening. You are not interesting. You need to be interested, right? Just be more interested, like ask more questions. So every year, something, and I imagine it's something I need to work on or something that's in the back of my mind that, okay, this is a way I could be better. Oh, that piece of the book stands out to me, and then I work on it.
That's phenomenal. I love that. I love that. And obviously, every time you read it, you're getting something of value. It's not like old hat. I've read this before. There is something for today, something for the present time.
Yeah, and how many times have you heard something from somebody and you've heard it, you've heard the line or you've heard the quote or you've heard it, but then the seventh time you hear it, it hits different. You're like,
Oh, yeah, because we're in different places when we hear it. It makes me think of the Bible. I mean, the Bible, you can read it over and over, and it's never the same book because it's alive. It's interacting with where we are as well. So, yeah, good books can be read more than once.
yeah, yeah. So
Absolutely.
that is definitely my go-to.
Okay, so Vera, we've been talking about so many things. How can people get a hold of you? They might want to learn more about Cydcor and the business. They might want to book you for speaking or just talk about any of the subjects that you've raised here today.
So you could go, probably the easiest way to get me, Vera at Cydcor, CYDCOR.com. If you're not comfortable with like hey, I'm going to go direct, you can just go on the website. We have a contact page. You can type something in and I will definitely get the message.
Okay,
Yeah.
Vera, thank you at Cydcor. Thank you for Vera. All right, thank you so much for sharing that with others. Now, what additional, because you've shared a lot today, what additional words of wisdom would you like to leave for the community of executive business leaders?
I have found that the more I give people chances in my business, the more I believe that they can, the more that they step up and they do that thing. I'm always inspired and surprised by how much more people can do rather than thinking that they can do less. If I'm talking to executives, it's like give people a shot, give them a shot, and they will surprise you.
That's wonderful. And I'm think back now to your boss. He said, I can see Vera as president. He gave you a shot, right? And
He
so
sure
now
did.
you're passing that forward and giving other people their shot as well. So thank you so much, Vera, for being here with me today and for just speaking, I would say, comprehensively about many things in your life and business that make a difference.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's so easy, so great.
Yeah, it's just a delight to have you here as well. So we're going to close with some Bible verses that come from Galatians, the 6th chapter. We're going to start with verse 7 and go through verse 10. And it says, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. For he who sows to his flesh will of the flesh reap corruption. But he who sows to the Spirit will of the Spirit reap everlasting life. And let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all, especially to those who are of the household of faith. And these verses mean a lot to me, Vera, when I'm thinking about you and the messages that you've shared today, because we do reap what we sow, and we can choose what we're going to sow into our world, into our lives, and into the lives of others. And sometimes it can be hard to do the right thing, and this is encouragement. Don't get weary in doing what is good. Those children in Belize, for example, not all of them will make some better choices or have better opportunities. However, more will than would have if you weren't there on the ground. So we just want to realize the harvest sometimes comes in a little bit later. So if we have opportunity to do good to everyone, then do it. And Vera, that's what I see you sharing with us today. So to everyone out there, take that lesson to heart, go out, sow some good seed, bring in a great harvest, do good in the world. Thank you for being here. See you next time. Hi, it's Dr. Karen here today, and I want to tell you a little bit about Spirit Wings Kids Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and it's an organization that provides profound services for orphans and for widows and families across the globe in many ways, and especially in the country of Uganda. So today I'm speaking with Donna Johnson, who is the founder of Spirit Wings Kids and also a board member. Donna, tell us about some example of the profound work that you're doing in Uganda.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Karen. We were just there a few weeks ago, and it's incredible. It's more than an orphanage. We have a soccer academy that keeps the boys off the street. We have a widows program that matches them with children. And it's just a thriving network of really entrepreneurs. And it's just been such a meaningful blessing to see the work that we're doing there.
You know what, Donna, what I love about what you said just now is you're really talking about their whole lives. You're creating families between the widows and the children. And you're also making sure they have recreation and something to do with the soccer academy. And you're looking at the job situation and the entrepreneurial aspect. And as a businesswoman yourself who's very successful, you're right in line with being able to make that difference. Thank you so much for the difference that you're making. And I'm inviting everyone who's watching and listening today to go to swkids.foundation and donate now. 100% of everything you donate goes to those people who are in need and who are receiving those services. Thank you so much for donating. And Donna, thank you for this ministry. You've been listening to The Voice of Leadership with me, Dr. Karen Wilson Starks. And I want to give a special thanks to jazz saxophonist Ron McMillan for granting us permission to use his gifted music on our show. Thanks for listening, and remember to go to my website, transleadership.com, for more strategies, insights, and leadership resources.